first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, lecturers, everyone here today, for the opportunity to talk about the Six Paramitas. So we are on the last one, wisdom, last but not least. Okay, so wisdom or prajna. Sometimes might want to qualify this saying prajna, wisdom, because sometimes we use wisdom like common sense wisdom and other wisdom, which is not the same thing. Okay, so this is something special here, this wisdom. All right, so the chief examiner of the three realms, he says, wisdom overcomes the ignorant and unenlightened mind. Right, okay, so and so it says, wisdom, basically it can shatter ignorance and delusions, it can empty all the forms, it can comprehend, or through wisdom, comprehend all principles and dharma, and also allow us to differentiate right from wrong, can speak and act according or appropriately. Okay, so this wisdom is kind of like a, well, I guess you can say it's like the sunlight, right? On a foggy day, it kind of burns through the fog and it clears it up. Okay, so that's, our ignorance and delusions are there. It's like the fog in our mind, and there's wisdom. This wisdom, of course, this prajna wisdom is innate. It's inherent. It comes from the Buddha nature, or that's our true self. Okay, so that is something that we don't need to learn. Later on, Holy Teacher will mention basically, how we can reveal this wisdom. Okay, so we all have it. All right, so Holy Teacher also says that wisdom is equal in everyone. All right? Everyone has equal ability or capability in this, wisdom. Okay, it's just like the true nature, the Buddha nature, is the same in everyone. Okay, it's identical. It's no different between a Buddha and a regular person. Okay, the wisdom is the same thing. It's just a question of whether it's revealed or it's manifested. Right, that's the only difference. Whether it's that. Okay, can empty all forms. So wisdom, part of wisdom is having like the insight, this profound insight into the reality, the true reality. And so it can see, if we have that wisdom, we can see through all forms. We can see that all forms are in fact empty. A lot of the sutras, they all talk about, like for example, the Heart Sutra, right? It says, form and emptiness or non-form, or form and formlessness are the same. Okay, they are one and the same. So we have to see, so the wisdom, we have to have that wisdom to be able to see that. And, of course, it allows us to comprehend, principles and all the Dharma, the teachings, and all phenomena, actually. And so, therefore, when we use it, or when it's being manifested, then we can differentiate what's right and wrong, proper, improper. We can always basically allow us to speak and act appropriately. That will always do the right, quote unquote, the right thing, or the most appropriate thing at any given time, okay, or situation. So that's this marvelousness of this wisdom, this prajna wisdom. Okay, so and it's also completely, I say it's kind of, I guess, self-contained. I mean, meaning that it doesn't depend on knowledge, doesn't depend on external knowledge. Okay, we don't have to learn. I mean, it's not like what we're learning here, and we see the words, but this is not wisdom. Okay, and it doesn't. Our wisdom doesn't really need this per se. To manifest and to be able to allow us to, distinguish right and wrong and to be able to do things just right or appropriately. Okay, so So that's the marvelous thing about it. So this, yeah. So this is, so it's not like common sense wisdom. Okay, common sense wisdom is more at a mundane level. Okay, so it's not the same. All right. Okay, so wisdom is the guide of the six paramitas, and you could say it's the most important. That's why I said in the very beginning that in practicing the paramitas, right, all the paramitas, wisdom is kind of the underlying, is like the foundation where you need to use the wisdom in the practice. Without, and later on, Holy Chi will say that, just practicing the paramitas without wisdom is blind practice. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, that we always have to apply the wisdom. If the first five, so he says, first five paramitas is blind, then wisdom is the light that can eliminate 1,000 years of darkness. Okay, and so one bit of wisdom can extinguish 1,000 ignorances. So so it's everything. To go from ignorant to enlightened is just, it doesn't necessarily have to take many years of study. I mean, it can happen in an instant, okay, because the wisdom is already there. It's just a question of whether it, I guess it comes, is revealed or not, okay. So wisdom, it's actually one of the three non-outflow studies, okay, so that addresses ignorance, okay, so that's one of the three poisons, ignorance and delusion, okay. And then, so the three outflows, whatever, desires, existence, ignorance. All right. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So why do we need to get rid of ignorance, right? Ignorance obscures the truth of Tao, or I'd say obscures the truth, and the way of liberation. Liberation meaning transcending this cycle of life and death, rebirth. Okay. And basically liberation from this karmic cycle. So ignorance produces a duality of view. Okay, we see things black and white, or everything is all right and wrong, or yes and no. Right. We have stubbornness, attachments, erroneous thinking. Thinking the wrong ways. Vexation and distress, thoughts that prevent the mind from being pure and still. Okay, so I mean, this is the human condition, right? This is the humans have these problems. I mean, well, except that maybe they don't think of them as problems. They just think, this is just the way it is, right, for humans. But that's what makes us humans, as opposed to being a Buddha that's awakened, is enlightened, okay, because they've manifested the wisdom and they see the truth, okay. But the most important thing is that if we are still ignorant, let's say not knowing, the truth of reality, the truth of the life, or the meaning of life, then we're going to continue to be in. It's kind of like being in the Matrix, okay? If you've seen the movie, you're stuck in this. I won't say it's a simulation, but it's basically you're caught up in that thing, and it's a delusion. It's an illusion, okay? It's not the true reality, okay? So we have to break the ignorance to get out of that. Do not be afraid of thoughts arising, but be afraid that awareness comes too late, okay? So we always say, right, don't let a single thought arise, right? Let go of all karmic affinities, because the thoughts come from, or there's some kind of motive associated with it, okay, or there's some intention or something, okay. It's not really coming from the Buddha nature, the true self, okay. That's coming from our conscious mind, okay. Maybe it's deep inside the conscious mind, but it's still from our conscious mind, which also, there's the ego there, and so it has all its prejudice, biases, etc. But and that it's okay. I mean, it's kind of a natural function of our mind to have thoughts, but what we have to do then is, if it's an incorrect thought, that we need to get rid of it, or at least let it go. Don't become attached to it, or don't follow that train of thought. Right. So that's where the awareness and awareness and wisdom, I kind of, they're related. Okay. Basically, I would say this awareness comes about from the wisdom. Okay. So it's so having that awareness then lets us be able to, do a self-correction, correct ourselves, and later on try. The more we do that, then the better we are able to control our mind. Okay, the Buddha mind is pure and still, even in this dusty world. All right, this world that we're in. So this Buddha mind, the Bodhi mind. Okay, so it's the mind of enlightenment, the mind of awareness, the mind of this prajna wisdom. It's pure and still, so it's not right. So there's no thought that arises, and has no attachments. Right, there's no affinities that it's attached to. Okay, so in that state, that is the true state. You can say that's the state of true reality. Okay, in that state, in that state, then there's nothing. You won't create, karmas or anything like that. Okay, so even in this world, and it won't be disturbed. It won't be influenced by whatever is in this world that we're living in. All the whatever attractions or distractions that are there will not bother it. Okay, it won't be influenced. Okay. Wisdom is the cornerstone of mastering all dharmas. Yeah, so having this wisdom then allows us to really, have that penetrating insight into the truth, right? The dharmas, the principles, Buddha's teachings, or the saints and sages' teachings. These are, the truth is in there. Obviously, the truth is not the words themselves. So it's the you can say the underlying meaning, behind it, the essence of those words, the teachings, the meaning behind the words. So this wisdom, prajna wisdom, will allow us to really, truly comprehend and understand those. Okay, so if we just try to use our conscious mind, our intellectual ability to try to comprehend it fully, it's not possible. I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, okay, we can talk about the principles, we can, these concepts, but ultimately it's through the wisdom that we have full 100% grasp of what it is. Okay, so wisdom facilitates perfect harmony. Basically, we can be in harmony. So again, the wisdom, we don't have. It's not duality. It's not based on duality. So our view of this is right, this is wrong. It's always about harmony. Harmonizing any kind of situation. So in other words, harmonize. Yeah, I use the word harmony. You can say, kind of make the best out of any situation. Okay, to not make it worse and probably make it better. Okay, so that's what wisdom will allow us to do. All right. Okay, so Holy Teacher says, marvelous, profound, subtle wisdom, okay, reveals knowing without learning. That's also known as noumenon. And the natural or innate ability and potential. Okay, so this marvelous wisdom, okay, marvelous, profound, and subtle wisdom, okay, knowing without learning. Okay, so like I was saying, it doesn't depend on knowledge. Doesn't depend on what we can learn externally, or even through experiences. Experiences, again, for the most part, are involve external input. Okay, so but the wisdom does not depend on that. Okay, so it's called noumenon, because that's a psychology word. Okay, so but that's that's kind of the opposite is phenomena, which is everything, that's kind of external stuff. So noumenon is just internal. Okay, so it didn't need to learn anything to know it. Okay, and also as a result of that, then we have the ability to or potential to be able to do things through this, using this wisdom, this innate, this noumenon. Okay, this innate knowledge. So it's like, in this world, of course, we all have to learn. Okay, like, oh, I got to learn how to use the computer. I have to learn how to drive. Right, I have to go. I have to study to do that. But actually, if we use this prajna wisdom, we'd be able to do those things actually without learning. We may not be able to explain how, but it'll come very naturally. It's just natural. Okay, that's how it is, right? Okay, so wisdom. Let me see. Yeah. So wisdom eye, right, is the wisdom eye sees through the 3 realms and the 10 directions, penetrating the false and seeing the true. Okay, so the 3 realms and the 10 directions. This is basically all the realms of existence. Okay, and 10 directions is everywhere basically. Okay, so it can see through all phenomenal worlds, and see what's true and what's false. Okay, so false being, basically all phenomena, is by definition is false according to this. Okay, so false not in the sense that, we think it's real. This world that we live in is real. It is kind of real in a certain sense, but it is false in the sense of that true reality. What's the true reality? Where all forms are empty. Okay, so it might be, maybe basically it's a perspective, a different perspective. Okay. Okay, so wisdom eye is like one of there are like 5 divine eyes or divine sights. Okay, so that's one of them. There's like the Buddha sight or the Buddha eyes, Dharma sight eyes, the wisdom eyes. Okay, heaven or heaven eyes, and then the normal human eyes, which is our eyeballs, right? Being able to see through our eyeballs. Okay, so that's but that's kind of like the lowest the lowest of those other eyes. Okay, so in terms of capability, right? Okay, so so this wisdom eye, allows us to see through the false and find the true, unmask and get rid of selfishness. Right? It can get rid of stubbornness, attachments, and prejudices and biases. It can resolve grievances and karma. It can inspire enlightenment, achieve comprehension of the mind, and see the true nature. Okay, so it's very it's very powerful, I guess you'd say. All right, so it confirms the preciousness of the one. The one, you can say it's first treasure, or basically. It's also, I guess, that implies pointing to the true nature. Okay, proving that there is nothing to gain or lose. Right, the true nature, just like the wisdom. Well, the wisdom, of course, comes from the true nature as a function of the true nature. And so, where the true nature is, you can say, is the essence, and then the wisdom is a function of that essence. All right, so being that the essence is just is. Okay, so there's no, it doesn't it doesn't increase or it doesn't decrease. Okay, so just like saying earlier that it's equal in everyone. Okay, so it's actually, if you want to say it, it's like there's, you can't really quantify it, but it's, it's a quote unquote one. There's only one essence. One essence is in everything. It's in everyone. Okay, and that's why it's the same in everyone. And it's so So the wisdom that comes from that is going to be the same thing too. So it's coming from that same essence. So it's the same in everyone. Right? So this is also in the Heart Sutra saying that it doesn't increase, doesn't decrease. There's no gain, there's no loss. Okay, so everything is there. It's complete. Right? It's not lacking in anything. Okay, so and then the ultimate level of the six paramita, which is this wisdom, prajna wisdom, is motiveless action. There's uwe. Okay, motiveless action, or you can say it's also that refers to the unconditional true reality. Okay, the true reality, the true form, and the formless. Okay, reality of things. Okay, so with this wisdom, because the wisdom, again, remember, there's no ego, right? There's no that false sense of self that and so therefore there are no biases, there are nothing associated. So that's why it's wu-wei, which is, we say motiveless action. You can say it's egoless action, or it's none, no intent or anything. It's just natural. Okay, so the actions coming from here will be very natural, just like basically, I guess it's in the Tao Te Ching, right? It says where the Tao follows nature, right? It doesn't mean that we're not talking about nature as being something beyond the Tao, but the Tao is nature. But everything it follows its own nature. Okay, it has certain principles that it follows, and everything goes according to that nature. So wisdom, same thing. When it's applied, it just follows this nature. Okay, its own nature, and it's very natural. It's only when we apply our own what we've accumulated in this world, whether it's knowledge, experience, all our karma, everything that affects how we do things, and how we think. That's no longer, we can't. That's not wu-wei. Okay, all right. That's all right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, right. Sorry. So the words here, the wisdom, basically the prajna wisdom, basically you can say attests to or proves the Tao. Okay, so ultimately, what are we trying to achieve is, we say wisdom here, but it's awareness, right? Jue, okay, so awakening, and that with the awakening, you have the wisdom. Okay, so ultimately, that's the ultimate proof that we've achieved the highest level, that we've achieved the Tao, attained the Tao. Okay, so is that if we can, if we everything is coming from us is through this wisdom. Okay. All right. So it says, holy teacher. Wisdom is the lofty virtue of knowing without seeking and ability without learning. Okay. So you kind of said that earlier. That is, there's nothing really to learn. Okay. The wisdom is already there. It's just a question of how do we get access to it? Okay, it's not something that's active that we can try to say, oh, yeah, I need to study to kind of increase my wisdom. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. We have to let go of things. We have to get rid of things to reveal that wisdom. Okay, wisdom is the highest study of clearly seeing through all things and revealing the true self nature. Right. So that is. Yeah, so basically it is, beyond what we can learn in terms of knowledge, and even, just using like our rational mind, our reasoning to try to make sense of things, to make sense of that true reality is beyond the, you can say, human comprehension. I mean, without the wisdom. Okay, so we have to, it's only through this penetrating insight of the wisdom that we can truly comprehend what the true reality is. Okay. Or, what the ultimate truth is. Okay. So wisdom is the so wisdom is the smooth implementation of following principles according to the true nature and dealing with matters according to principle. Right. So with wisdom, if we are following, the guidance of our wisdom, then basically, we'll be able to do things appropriately, right? We'll be able to follow the proper principles, true principles, and it's coming from our then it's coming from our true nature, okay, directly from our true nature, and that we'll be able to deal with matters, anything, any situation according to these true principles, okay. Therefore, in that sense, you can say that we can do no wrong, okay, or that we won't create karma, okay. So again, it's that wu wei, okay. We won't end up not creating karma as a result if we can truly be doing things from the true nature, from the wisdom, okay. Wisdom is the harmony of immersing in fire without burning and submerging in water without drowning. So it's creating this harmony. Let's see. So obviously our true nature is unaffected by, whether it's fire or water or any kind of conditions. Okay, it's beyond that. In fact, it encompasses everything. Okay, and it is immersed or it's merged with empty space and all phenomena. So actually, the fire and water are part of that true nature, that essence. Okay, it's everywhere. Remember. Okay, so no matter what, there is the essence in there, and so how can it be burned by it, right? How can it drown in it? It doesn't. Okay, so but it's like for us, it's like, oh, we're like a drop of water, right? The drop of water kind of drops into the ocean, right? Well, it just merges with the ocean. Okay, it is the ocean. There's no distinction anymore. There's no drop of water anymore. Okay, so there's no separation. Okay. All right. Okay, so wisdom is the strategy of starting to realize Tao and all dharmas returning to the one. Okay, so basically, the true nature, right? It pervades all phenomena, all dharma, all of reality. Okay, so we have to return to the oneness. Returning to oneness again is also implies that we're no longer in that duality. Okay, of mind. Okay, we can't be in that way of thinking of duality in terms of duality. Okay, and so this wisdom you can think of is like the light. Okay, the light. Let's say like the sunlight. Okay, the sunlight shines on the world, right? So now when we're on the world, we see there is kind of a duality, and there's a night and day, right? Duality. Well, there's the nighttime, the sun is not shining, but it's shining on the other side of the world. Okay, so but eventually, the world turns, rotates, and the sunlight will shine on all parts of the world. Okay, so there is no from the sunlight point of view, there's no duality. Okay, it's everything is the same. Right. So wisdom is the turning point of transcending the common and entering the saintly path. Okay, so if we can have this wisdom, that will allow us to truly go beyond what the common, meaning the normal people, like the sentient beings. Okay, going from a sentient being to being like a saint or sage or Buddha or Bodhisattva, right? So that is really the point. So, I mean, we can initially, I guess, for most people, maybe if we trying to seek, go on that saintly or the path of Buddhahood, we have a little bit of wisdom there to guide us. Okay, but for the most part, we're still depending on our knowledge, external knowledge and learning and study. Okay, to kind of get on the way. But hopefully, I mean, the idea is that we need to gradually, you can say, opening up our wisdom to ultimately reach that level where, you know, we no longer depend on the external knowledge anymore. Okay, because then that's because, you know, then it's also you know, we reach the state of true awareness. Okay, complete awareness. Right. And wisdom is the right moment of clearing the doubts, giving rise to faith, and self-awakening enlightenment. Okay, so it's that moment. Okay, that's special. This moment is not, you know, this is, yeah, I had said it was the let's see, what did I use originally? I used basically the timeless moment, but basically in the moment. Okay, the moment is really very special. But you know, it's so, like I said, there's no you know, like just before 1 second earlier, right? We have doubts, we have questions, we have maybe some confusion. As soon as that is cleared up, then, you know, we can have that faith, right? Realize, yes, this is actually, well, it's actually true, you know, whatever. And so wisdom, you can say maybe wisdom is what kind of gets us there to make that transition. Okay, so it's usually would not be the knowledge really that does that. Okay, is wisdom. Wisdom is the experience of immediate comprehension from a single hand. So again, we can, you know, just like saying earlier that we don't need to learn anything, you know, and having just getting a little bit of hint of something. We can, if we have that wisdom, we can get immediate comprehension. So, for example, in the sixth patriarch, well, before he become the patriarch, right? He's, you know, after he had written his poem, right, and the fifth patriarch realized that, he's going to be the one. He's the next patriarch. Okay, so when he went to see him, you know, the sixth patriarch, you know, he was working in the kitchen, and basically the fifth patriarch said, is the rice ready, right? Now, we don't have the wisdom, then, you know, we think, you know, the fifth patriarch's asking if the rice is ready, okay, because he's like kind of pounding the rice and stuff like that. But the Huineng, you know, future sixth patriarch, he has the wisdom, because he had wisdom. He realized what he was talking about, what the fifth patriarch was asking. You know, is he ready? Is his comprehension? Is he basically, you know, almost enlightened, basically? Okay, is he awakened yet? Okay, so and you know, he said he was. Okay, so and then the fifth patriarch said, okay, so he just, and the fifth patriarch, he didn't say anything else. He just he used his staff to knock on the wood like 3 times. And so, you know, for most people, they're what does that mean? You know, so, but because Huineng had wisdom, he realized that it meant he should go see the fifth patriarch at the 3rd watch of the night. Okay, so anyways, that's all based on wisdom, right? So that's not, any knowledge can really tell you that. All right. Okay. So the wisdom is to give and take, or take and give, of proceeding when principled and withdrawing when unprincipled. Okay. So what does that mean? Maybe it's not perfect good wording here, but what it's saying is that when things are according to principle, according to the true principles, then yes, go proceed and do it. Okay, but if things are going, if it's not if it goes against those principles, or you know, it's deviates, then we should avoid that. Okay, so don't go down that path, right? So that's the wisdom will allow us to differentiate that. Sometimes we use our knowledge, but our knowledge is incomplete, right? It's not, we don't have 100% knowledge of everything, okay? So, and even the principles, we learned the principles, but we don't have 100% confidence, let's say, in applying those, in knowing how those principles are applied in every situation, right? Because we only maybe learn about, in one situation, yes, this principle applies. In another situation, we're not so sure. But wisdom will know. Okay, so that's why, so in the world that we live in, right, just like in this country, for example, you have all these laws, right? Why there are more and more laws is because these laws are very specific, right? The laws, this applies in this situation. And then so when something else comes up in a different situation, they're not sure if this applies, then maybe they have to come up with a new law to address that. Okay. So this is all external. So this is like what I'm saying about knowledge, same way. You have to learn then, in each situation, you know what to do. So if you don't know about a particular situation, you don't know what to do. But wisdom will allow us to know what to do in any situation. Okay, it doesn't matter. All right. Wisdom is the principle of not being confused in fate or life and not being ignorant of causality and karma. So, right, in the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path, right, the first is having the right or proper views, right? So that's understanding the truth. So the Four Noble Truths, understanding what life is about, basically why there's suffering, why do we reincarnate. Okay, so wisdom will allow us to not be confused in life and not be confused about the fate that we have and the karmic fate in this life, right? And certainly we won't be ignorant about causality and karma, which is that's a universal law that's there, and we'll understand that, and therefore we'll be able to do things with wisdom. We do things we'll know to avoid causing creating karma. Okay, because once you create karma, that goes down that slippery slope down into this cycle of life and death and rebirth. Okay, wisdom is the inherent quality of all soul, or true nature, really, and of heaven's blessing. Okay, so again, it's this wisdom is an inherent quality, okay, of the true nature. So we all have it, okay, and you can say it's a blessing. I mean, it's this heaven's given us this. It's within. Well, I mean, we say this, but it's a part of the true nature, the essence. Okay, so that there's our Buddha nature that we have, that it has this wisdom. Okay, okay. So again, this is not something that that's learned. All right, it's already inherent, innate within us. Wisdom is the qualification of the reflecting light from the true self nature and prior heaven and post heaven. Okay, so basically we originally had, before we even in this world, before we've been born in this world, we have this true wisdom. Okay, so I mean, there's wisdom, and even when we're born in this, after we enter, so that's kind of like I don't know what I call the prior heaven here. It's not. It doesn't sound exactly right here, but basically it's before. It's from the original. You can say it's from in the true reality. Okay, the true reality, and then in the post heaven is being in this phenomenal world. Okay, that. It's this wisdom is this light. You could say it's like this light that comes from the true nature, and it's we have it. We are obviously it was part of that true nature that so we always have it, whether it was in the true reality, in the absolute heaven, or in the phenomenal world that we are in. Okay. And see, it's basically, yeah. So it doesn't. It's not like, oh, when we're born in this phenomenal world that our wisdom has decreased. Okay, it's not. It's just that when we're in the again, it's covered up. Okay, it's covered up in this world again because we have karma, we have all sorts of things that we have accumulated in this world. Right, this dusty world, we're covered in dust. Right, all this contamination. Well, it's defilements. Okay, we have prejudices, biases, everything that kind of prevent that wisdom from being revealed. Right. So wisdom is the homework of seeing through the impermanence of life and grasping the true and the eternal. Yeah, so this is something that we have to constantly be aware, right? So wisdom and awareness, right? We have to be constantly aware to see through. Maybe we have to kind of remind ourselves because we're not maybe, we're not 100% there. Okay, so to always constantly maybe remind ourselves to, well, I mean, actually, with the wisdom, we don't really need to remind ourselves, but maybe the wisdom can remind us that life is impermanent, right? And to really hold on to what is true and eternal, to realize what is true and eternal, right? So that again, it's the Buddha nature, right? So that is the thing that never changes, and it will always be there. And so, whereas what we think of as our life is impermanent, okay? And so this is not the truth. It's not the true thing. So we should kind of, you could say, look at the bigger picture. Really, I mean, see the bigger picture of life. It's not just this life, okay? So do we want to constantly reincarnate life after life and not gain enlightenment and transcend this cycle, right? That if we seek to pursue the material enjoyment and whatnot, then that's what will happen. But if we look at from a bigger picture, from the you can say from the Buddha's, the enlightened eye's view of things, then obviously it's better to transcend that cycle. Okay, so all right, so wisdom is the choice of reviewing the past and looking to the future. Okay, so the past, all right, so just like we have to what we've done before, all right? So this is not talking about past lives, but although having one of the wisdoms allows us to a Buddha. That's why they can see the past lives, they can see the future as well. Okay, so but for us, it's reviewing what we've done in this life. Okay, so things in the past. So even what we've done today. Okay. At the end of the day, so like Zhenzi, okay, one of Confucius' disciples, he has 3 reflections or introspections every day, right? Has he been loyal, basically, in his dealings with people, right? Has he been, loyal, faithful, and has he been like trustworthy to his friends, and has he practiced what he has learned? Okay, so this is kind of a self-reflection, basically talking about here, that we should always do that, and then also, in seeing the future, we have a positive outlook on the future. Okay, and we can determine, our future if we follow our wisdom. Okay, so if we decide that, we try to take control of our future, but through kind of mundane means, that's very limited in what we can do for our future. Obviously we get an education, we go through training or whatever, and then we can get get into a career, there's upward path in the career path, etc. I mean, that can help us. But that's all very mundane stuff. But the wisdom here is looking to the future, not just the future in this life, right? It goes beyond this life. Okay. The wisdom is the affirmation of the unmasking of complete enlightenment and unhindered penetrating insight. All right. So, again, through wisdom, right, we can basically become completely enlightened. All right. So that's completely aware. And we'll have, again, one of those 5 eyes that allow us to, at the complete enlightenment level, we have all 5 eyes. Okay, so those special divine visions or sight that has this penetrating insight that that we'll understand all dharmas. We'll be able to see the truth in everything. Okay, so obviously this is the ultimate. Wisdom is the cutting off of, is driving away the 7 emotions and severing the 6 desires. So this is what humans are basically, this is the human condition here with having all sorts of emotions and desires. So basically, all right, so the 7 emotions that are, the categories, they say, there's joy, anger, sadness, happiness, love, hate, and also desire. Okay, so, and then 6 desires are, of course, the desires of our senses, through our sensory organs. So basically, desire of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mind. Okay, so these things. So all of these, we have to. It doesn't mean that we become stoic, right? Have no emotion, no desires. We need to, again, control these things. Okay, so yeah, obviously, if something, a tragedy happens, maybe we are in grief. We lose someone. We're gonna grieve. But again, there's you can say the middle way. Okay, so don't go. We shouldn't be an extreme, and also don't let that emotion then control us, right? Because of that grief that causes, then I decide to kill myself, or so then that's wrong. Okay, so you can't go that far. So the wisdom will try to kind of, you can say, mitigate or moderate these things. All right. So, but yeah, desire. So again, some of these things are like, some other paramitas, like the precepts or the precepts or the concentration, or even, the giving, charity, they can help us in, reducing the desires as well. So that's that. But anyways, this is kind of a general, in cultivation, we need to try to moderate these things. Okay, keep them under control. Never be controlled by them. All right. Wisdom is the happiness of the utmost diligent effort and intelligent upgrading of the value of life. Okay, so all right. So this basically. Yeah, so no matter what, hard work, right? So in life, and especially in cultivation, right? So in life, even in a mundane life, there is a lot of hard work. Okay, there's some hardships, things like that we have to overcome and go through, experience. But in cultivation, maybe even more so. We're kind of taking the path less traveled, so to speak. Okay, and it's the unbeaten path. Sometimes, it's not. Because the Buddhas have already taken that path, and so they're kind of shining the light on that path to let us, so that we know the direction, the way to go. But of course, there's still there are hardships along that way, and so we have to put in the effort, right? The diligent effort. And so, so holy teachers, so no matter how panicked, how long the road, is the hardship of cultivation, how difficult propagating Tao is. The process is in the breadth and depth of the heart and mind. Okay, so basically, it is if we can overcome, right, if we can persevere on this path of cultivation, then that is kind of we're proving ourselves. You can say, right, and so because of the pure refinement from the adversity in life, right, tenacity, right, produces wisdom and stability. So a lot of times, when things are difficult, if we have the perseverance, the tenacity to continue and face it and try to overcome it, usually that will kind of that not obviously it gives us a good experience that we can learn from, but that's kind of when the wisdom can kind of manifest as well. Okay. So it produces wisdom and stability, and so when there is stability, then the value of life, right, can be elevated or upgraded, right? And then when the value of life, when the life has value, then the value of the moral quality of life can also rise. Okay, so being able to realize the preciousness of life in the midst of hardships, right, and to learn to tolerate, forgive, and to be humble, right, gives rise to happiness, right? So ultimately, it's even though it may at first seem like a struggle, and it's like some people wonder, it's like, wow, is this why bother? Why is this worth it, right? So, but it is. So obviously, in cultivation, we do have to have some faith. We do have to have faith. Faith. The stronger our faith, the more that we'll be able to accomplish. Really. Okay. So, but again, it's not blind faith. All right. So we as over time, as we cultivate, as we experience the Tao, okay, more and more, that builds up that internal, that faith, that true faith, and that you can say it's like a self-confidence too. Okay. The wisdom is the peacefulness of letting go of the self or ego and finding the wonderful Dharma. This is called Sadharma. Okay, but this is the wonderful Dharma, the truth. Okay, the truth of the Dharma actually, is like, I think this is that term is referring to like in the Lotus Sutra. But anyways, so once we can let go of the ego, right? That's very important. The ego is part of what we call the four images, right? The self, right? The self, the others, sentient beings, and also lifespan or personality. Okay, so that's our kind of our dualistic view of things. Okay, that there's a me, there's a you. Okay, and in the Diamond Sutra, right? It says to seek forms is to be attached to the four images. Right, to seek the characteristics of things is to be attached to the forms of the four images. This wonderful Dharma is not abiding in forms. To find the wonderful Dharma, we must cultivate prajna wisdom. Okay, so and then we can shine the light on the five skandhas, right, to see that they are empty. Right, so this is mentioned in the Heart Sutra. Right, so because our sentient beings' view of the world is through this five skandhas that we talk about, right? The sense, the objects or the phenomena, and then the sense reception of it, and the perception, right? The perception. There's the sensation, perception, and then there's also the kind of like, I guess, the conscious attachment to it. Okay, so these things basically that's how we view the world. Okay, for our sentient beings. And we think that that's the true reality. Okay, so but it's actually, according to Buddhas, right? It's really all empty. Okay, because we believe in the five skandhas, we have attachments which prevents wisdom from revealing itself. right? With the wonderful Dharma, there is no attachment to duality, right? So, yeah, so we have to kind of get away. We have to really not have that duality view, and so that's why we say harmony. So rather than saying, oh, picking sides or saying you or me, whatever, we talk about harmony, or you can say oneness. All right, oneness is another way of saying it. Oneness or harmony. That is always the better answer than to say, try to say, this is right or wrong. Okay. Wisdom is the unique characteristic of all thoughts, not deviating from the Tao and attending to all aspects. Okay, so if our wisdom, if we're being guided by our wisdom, then any thoughts that we have will will be in accord with our true nature, with the Tao. Okay, with the true principles, right? And it'll be able to deal with everything, right? So all thoughts are proper, right? They don't deviate from Tao. The proper thoughts and proper cultivation, they lead to the Sambodhi, right? The wisdom of the Buddha. In this Dharma, right? Take no thought as the doctrine, right? No form as the substance, and non-abiding as the foundation. So, right, we don't also want to get stuck on specific methods, dharmas, teachings, right? Again, these are all external, right? These are all knowledge, and they do work, but it's just like it's saying earlier that we need to have wisdom to apply, any kind of method, like the practice of the Six Paramitas, these are like different methods, but we have to use our wisdom to know how to apply them. Okay, and so that's where it allows for there's flexibility, right? It's not saying that if you don't do it this way, then it's wrong. There's no such thing like that. If we follow the wisdom, right, it can be applied differently. Whether it's any of these, like charity, for example, or giving. There's no one right answer about I have to give this much, or I have to give. When do I have to give? All these things. It's variable. Okay, and so we shouldn't be caught up in saying, it has to be this much, then that's truly giving or whatever. Okay, so that again, it's all qualified. It's not, there's no absolute there, and then the wisdom will guide us into in doing it the right way. Okay, doing what's appropriate. All right, so wisdom is the verification that attests to the Bodhisattva way and fulfillment of the Six Paramitas. Right. So again, to become this a Bodhisattva or Buddha, right? We must seek the Buddha way, this Tao, and transform sentient beings. Okay, so the transforming sentient beings, of course, is not just other sentient. We have to transform our own self, our own sentient beings, right? The six senses, these are all sentient beings within us that we have to transform. Okay, so wisdom is the wisdom eye that lights up the darkness of the 5 other paramitas. Right? If we are practicing the other 5 paramitas without the illumination of wisdom, then we will continue in the 6 paths of reincarnation. So it's very important. That's why wisdom is so important. Okay. Oops. Yeah. All right. So, holy teacher in this one channeling in this session, he was saying he's most afraid of hearing disciples use the word not or no, right? So like, as in, I don't know how, or don't know, or, it can't be done, right? I'm not able to do it, or I'm not going to cultivate anymore, or not propagate Tao anymore, right? Basically, holy teachers saying we should use our wisdom, right? Because these come about because maybe we're lacking in knowledge. We're not sure because we don't know. Basically, saying we don't have that knowledge, right? But wisdom that's because we're not using our wisdom. Okay, so wisdom is not being trapped by methods and not being misguided by the dharmas. Okay, so and misguided, whether we have a misunderstanding of the Dharma, the teachings, the principles, or getting the wrong, having, misinterpreting it, whatever. Okay, so wisdom, right, it's not constrained by these things. Okay, not constrained by specific methods, right? So wisdom will allow us to do things properly, even if the method that we learn does not tell us, oh, in this situation I should do this. It doesn't say anything. So, but the wisdom will know how to do it. Okay, so that's why this wisdom is so, I would say, it's so marvelous, it's so powerful, I guess you can say, that it can really, that's really what we want to try to achieve. We want to have that wisdom. Okay. So the first 5 paramitas are methods, right? But we should use wisdom to break the mold of the methods. So in other words, so because Holy Teacher, throughout these 6 sessions that he was talking about, these 6 paramitas, he kind of gave the class members kind of a little, a little exercise basically to about each of some of those paramitas, but he's saying that it's not fixed. Okay, it's these methods. We shouldn't be fixed by or constrained by the methods, right? Or at least our view of our understanding of the methods. Okay, so the wisdom goes beyond that. So he's saying, is racking your brain to think of something is that using our wisdom, right? It's not, because that is using our conscious mind, our reasoning, to try to come up with something, right? And we're depending on knowledge once again. And obviously, our intellect, our cognitive abilities, but these are all not wisdom, okay? Those who cannot find the root, which is basically, you can say the root is the Buddha nature, the true nature, the essence, or, the wisdom, which is the function of that, wisdom or bodhi mind, to cultivate blindly, right? So again, the wisdom is the key, so that we don't blindly cultivate, thinking that, oh, we're cultivating, and to become a Buddha. But if we're going about it wrong because we have some misunderstanding, or we're following these methods, to the letter, but not really to the intent, the true intent, then we could be going about it wrongly, okay, and we won't achieve what we're looking for, and also we have attachments to these methods or attachments to dharmas, and that will limit us in terms of what we can ultimately achieve, right? Because those are all forms that ultimately we have to let go of. We see that they are all empty. Again, ultimately we rely on this wisdom, this innate wisdom and awareness. So everyone has that equal wisdom. So basically, it's wisdom. Prajna wisdom is to overcome the ignorant delusional tendencies, right? It gives us profound insight and awareness, right, of things, of the truth. We comprehend the truth and dharma. Okay, so obviously these are all things that we learn. So there's knowledge, external stuff, but we have to understand these principles that we mentioned earlier. Okay, 3 minds is the past, the mind of the past, the mind of the present, mind of the future. Okay, so it's basically having some kind of attachment to time, but really the true, like, being in the moment is timeless. Okay, is not in any particular moment. It's, in a sense, when you say timeless, it's also eternal. Okay, so that's the true moment. Okay, so but it's not the 3 minds. All right, so in the 4 images, we talk about 5 skandhas as well. Okay, so all these things, through this wisdom, we can have a true comprehension of them. And then we'll be able to differentiate true from false, especially, well, in this time that we live in now, right? Holy Teachers, this is a period of testing our wisdom. Okay, so that's why wisdom is really the most important thing right now to really, for us to we have to reveal it, to manifest it, Okay, we have to bring it out, right? Because there are a lot of things that are, well, obviously everything is false, but there are also true teachings, false teachings. We have to know to distinguish between those, right? Like the last time we talked about the what do we call it? The heterodox teachings or practices, right? The Sulu Dongjing, right? Those things, they might have, some attractiveness to them because, hey, who doesn't want to have some magical powers, right? But those are false. Okay, so if we had the true wisdom, we would see that, right? Speak and we'd be able to, with our wisdom, speak and act appropriately in anytime, anywhere, okay, any situation, because it's coming directly from the wisdom, essentially coming directly from the true nature, the Buddha nature. Okay, and Numenon, again, this is the innate knowledge. We don't have to learn anything really to get this wisdom, to have this wisdom. It's already there, right? So let's see. Okay. All right. So here, the holy teacher kind of, you can say, so he says, the wisdom can be revealed. So this is what we have to do. Okay. So we have to reduce our desires and maintain calm and even temperament. All right. So that's very important. So so that's why earlier, right, there's something about kind of getting rid of the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Okay. So we have to do that to allow us. So I said earlier that wisdom, I can't actively try to get this wisdom, right? To acquire wisdom, to increase the wisdom. It's kind of done indirectly through these other things. If we can do these, basically, like I said, it was kind of like getting rid of some stuff. You get rid of some things, and then that wisdom it's there. So it's like, I guess you could say like, if you have like a circle, right, and you divide it up into like a pie, right, into, let's say, different parts, and then so if you reduce some of those parts, like say these desires and our temperament, whatever, we reduce that, then you have more of the other part, right? So the wisdom is already there. So then the wisdom naturally increase. Okay, I mean, it didn't really increase, but it manifests more. So we have to have pure thoughts and a broad heart and mind. So again, we have to be able to tolerate. We have to be forgiving, have patience, all that, and not and be clear in our mind, not pure and still in our mind. Okay, we have to have ethical conduct and fulfilling our basic duties as a human being. Okay, so we have certainly we have our the things that we're supposed to do as a human. Let's say those practicing those virtues. Whether it's filial piety, brotherly love, and all sorts of things. Loyalty, faithfulness, all these things. Okay, so our conduct. We have to have those. So if we can conduct ourselves the proper way, then the wisdom will naturally occur. Following the rules and observing the proprieties. Okay, so again, we have rules, regulations, proprieties, precepts, right? So we have to follow those, observe them, right? Practice those. Do not by not losing goodness, or goodness, kindness, goodness, and persisting in the Tao study. So continue to study, especially, don't think that, I've learned enough, I know enough, now I can cultivate, I can become a Buddha. So this is, that's kind of not a very humble attitude. Okay, so we have to be humble too. And by getting along with and accommodating and having consideration for others. Yeah. So obviously it's not about the self. So we get rid of the ego, then we should be able to do this. So actually, in this kind of summary here is kind of like basically it incorporates like at least some of the other paramitas in here, and the practices of the paramitas to do these things. So But basically, you know, the wisdom again is not something that we can we can learn. You know, no one can teach us wisdom. We have to develop that ourselves. Get it? Right? And we can do it through these by practicing these. Okay. And so anyways, so basically, you know, I always say, oh, may the Tao be with you is like the Force, right? So in Star Wars, it says, may the Force be with you. Actually, so now you know what that means. It's to use that prajna wisdom, okay? To use that, right? So Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Luke Skywalker, say, use the Force, right? Use the Force. Use that prajna wisdom, right? He didn't, you know, it's like you don't know exactly what to do, but if you use the wisdom, you'll know what to do. Okay, so that's really what it is. So now you know. Okay, so anyways, I had said anything wrong or not well enough. I asked Buddhas for forgiveness and also asked transmitting masters and lecturers for their corrections. And finally, you know, Happy New Year. It's a year of the ox, Chinese New Year today. Wish everyone love, joy, health, and peace in the new year. All right. Thank you. The one final thing I'll say is wisdom is certainly, I would say it's kind of the most important. I mean, you have to do all six. Okay, so Holy Teacher actually said, you know, well, in this class, okay, that he was saying that, he's giving them 6 steps. Okay, 6 steps to Buddhahood. Okay, so it's basically, I mean, but, you know, but the 6 paramitas, it's not like, you do one at a time. That would be like a linear steps, but it's not. I mean, these are like they're kind of orthogonal to each other, like different dimensions, okay, different perspectives or whatever. And so we have to practice all of them, but they are interdependent, you know, so we have to practice all at the same, you know, basically all of them, okay. And, you know, ideally, I mean, maybe they're not all at the same time, but wisdom is always, has to be used, in applying it, practicing the other ones, okay.